A warm welcome. You're watching Eye on Africa. I'm Rochelle Ferguson-Biahi. These are the top stories. Ethiopian rescue teams continue to search for survivors after a massive rubbish dump collapse, killing at least 65 people. Officials warn the death toll could rise. Meanwhile, anxious relatives await news of their loved ones. Ivory Coast remembers a deadly attack. Mourners mark 1 year on from a terror assault at the popular Grand Bassam beach resort, which claimed 19 lives. We bring you a report from our team on the ground. And celebrating cross-cultural interchange, East Africa's travelling book festival, Jalada, gets underway to promote literary traditions from across the region. But first to Ethiopia, where rescue teams are still searching for survivors after a massive landfill collapsed, killing at least 65 people on Saturday. Well, it's unclear what triggered the landslide at the Koshi rubbish dump, where hundreds of waste pickers attempt to make a living on a daily basis. Well, officials say mainly women and children were killed in the incident and have warned the death toll could rise. The details with France 24's Nicolas Germain.
The catastrophe struck the poorest of the poor in Ethiopia, those who live and work on the country's largest rubbish dump just outside Addis Ababa. A mountain of trash collapsed and killed dozens of people. Mulate Debebe witnessed the dramatic event.
I was giving my 2 children a bath on Saturday evening inside my home, and then I heard a loud and scary sound outside, so I told my husband to go outside and check what it was. Then the sound got bigger and bigger, so I tried to move out quickly, but I was caught up in the middle of the rubble.
Most of those who died or were injured were women and children.
Some with soft tissue injuries where simple dressings were done, and some of them were with respiratory problems, and those guys were provided with oxygen, and they have survived.
Some residents blamed a new biogas plant being constructed on top of the hill for the collapse. Around 300 people live on the landfill, which has been there for 50 years. They scavenge for food and objects they can sell, like recyclable metal. Some analysts praise Ethiopia because it has averaged about 10% annual growth for the last decade. But this tragedy shows many others have not benefited from this growth. Today, about 20 of Ethiopia's 100 million inhabitants live below the poverty line set by the World Bank.
In other news on the continent, Egypt's public prosecutor has ruled that former President Hosni Mubarak should be released from detention in a military hospital. The prosecutor approved a petition from Mubarak's lawyer after he was cleared earlier this month of conspiring to kill protesters in the 2011 uprising that ousted him. Well, the decision to release Mubarak ends nearly 6 years of legal wranglings. Ivorians have been marking 1 year since a deadly terror assault struck the popular beach resort Grand Bassam, killing 19 people and wounding dozens. Well, hundreds of mourners wearing white paid homage to the victims of the attack. After a silent march and prayers, a commemorative monument was unveiled, bearing the names of those who lost their lives. Our correspondents on the ground sent us this report from Grand Bassam.
It was a tragedy that wounded a nation. It had just gone 12:45 on a Sunday afternoon when the first shots were heard. Now, a few metres from Grand Bassam beach, that moment is remembered.
Everyone was shocked, but as anyone can see, the country is still standing and Grand Bassam is still standing. Grand Bassam recovered and is moving forward, and the whole of Ivory Coast must move on.
A few hours earlier, Grand Bassam came together as one. Authorities, hotel owners and residents dressed in white met to silently mourn.
It was a difficult moment in Grand Bassam's history. We will never forget what happened. We needed something to remember them, especially the martyrs that died here.
19 people were killed during last March's shooting. It was Ivory Coast's first ever terrorist attack. It's been a year now, and the seaside resort is back on its feet. The beach is busy again, but although tourists are back under the sun, it's not all business as usual. the hotels hit by the terrorists continue to struggle.
People find it hard to come here because they've always got this in the back of their minds. There's always this fear. Our booking rate's very low, between 20 and 25%, and that's made things difficult for us.
During the attack, the 3 terrorists were killed. As part of an ongoing investigation, 38 people have been arrested in Ivory Coast and neighbouring West African countries.
Right, time now for a quick look at some other stories that are making headlines. An explosion rocked the Somali capital this Monday, killing at least 6 people and wounding 4. Officials say a suicide car bomber detonated explosives at the Wahele Hotel on the busy Maka Lumira Road. According to local media, the militant group Al-Shabaab claimed responsibility for the attack. In a separate assault, insurgents blew up a minibus at a military camp south of the capital, killing 2 people. In DR Congo, peacekeepers are searching for 2 UN officials who were kidnapped in the Kasai Central Province alongside 4 locals this Monday. US citizen Michael Sharp and Swedish national Zaida Catalan were among experts appointed to investigate conflicts in DRC. Well, the Congolese government has said it's working with the UN mission MONUSCO to free all those who were abducted. And a court in Niger has sentenced the exiled opposition leader Hama Amadou to 12 months behind bars on the charges of baby trafficking. Amadou was one of 20 people accused of smuggling children from Nigeria via Benin for rich couples in Niger. He denies the charges. Amadou competed against President Mahamadou Issoufou in March elections. He has been living in France, though, since last year. He was tried in absentia. South Africa and Nigeria are to launch a jointly run system to monitor and prevent xenophobic attacks against Nigerian migrants living in the Rainbow Nation. Well, South African Foreign Minister met her Nigerian counterpart in Pretoria to diffuse rising tensions over migrants. The forum will be held every 3 months and will include immigration officials, business associations and civil society groups. Have a listen.
We've agreed that on top of all the bilateral MOUs and agreements that we had signed, we will pick or take a leave from that by establishing an early warning center, which will be coordinated by officials and ministers who serve from our side, from the security cluster.
On this early warning unit that we'll set up to meet in both countries every 3 months. And so that, one, we have this whole issue on the front burner, that we don't take our eyes off that ball, and that so that whatever action, preventive or otherwise measures that need to be taken can very quickly be taken.
And finally, East Africa's travelling book festival, known as Jalada, literally gets on the move this week. Over the next month, a collective of Pan-African authors will visit 5 countries in 12 cities in a literary tour bus. Well, the objective is to celebrate diversity and promote literary conventions from across the region, as Bastien Renouy and Julia Steers report.
The organisers of the Jalada Travelling Art and Literature Festival will board this bus each morning. For 30 days, this group of 10 will disembark in each of East Africa's largest cities. They're young authors and cultural influencers who hope to explore and connect literary traditions in the region.
I think we can't deny the fact that we live in a digital age, but the thing about it is that connection and seeing people face to face is really important, because one of the things that doesn't happen on the continent enough is that we don't see each other.
Their journey has taken them to the shores of Lake Victoria on the outskirts of Kisumu, Kenya's 3rd largest city, where they're running a workshop with children from local schools.
Once upon a time, a long time ago,
kids here have access to libraries and movie theaters, but traditional African customs have been lost. The festival shows them the old world of storytelling.
I think what such events do is they link up the cultures. Yeah, so it's not necessarily giving them access to a culture, it's giving them access to each other's culture.
But the festival is not just for kids. Organizers put together a cultural workshop at Kisumu's library, where residents can come and exchange ideas with the visiting authors. They're encouraged to share their origins and the unique rituals of their regions.
Once we meet with different people from different countries, different counties, we all experience different troubles, and we have different experiences. So once we meet and exchange these ideas, they help someone grow their art.
A new cultural theme will be introduced in each city that hosts the festival, and books from across Africa will be on sale for curious readers looking to discover stories from the entire continent.
Your Eye on Africa team will be back in 45 minutes' time. Up next, though, more international news. Thomas is here.